ask that you bear with me because it is a very new wound, and I've only written this morning. This is called The Ones Who Walk Away from Aspen. I should have known on the flight in, over the rugged terrain and what seemed like endless turbulence that sent my stomach diving into wonder, uncertainty, and delicious fear. I should have known what this trip would be like. It wasn't my first time. Last year, there was no safety net, only thin air, which I wasn't sure slept in the altitude or the tension of conversation. Yet, I allowed the unusual green to persuade me to envision my skin common to a place like this. I'm sure the travelers I came here with delighted themselves with thoughts like mine, ignored the primitive caution that plagued their tongues, as did I. Aspen is exactly the promise of someone's forefathers. The festival spreads throughout the town where jazz musicians cuddle the court with promises of serenity, culture, and the motivation to aspire to live here forever. It is a siren song. There are crows here. I'm sure you've seen one or two resting in the nook of a tree branch, snickering as they watch you suffocate without even feeling it. For me, Aspen is a condescending apology, a precursor to guilt. Aspen exists in the lie of the white man's burden. I know what you're thinking. How ungrateful. How dare she? I know some of you have spent lots of money for youth like Granite, Black, and Here, but as one of my fellow CYLA participants, Mana, pointed out to me, erasable. All of this makes you feel like you've done a justice for the world. And in some ways you have. You've allowed me another reason to think about what liberation means for people who look like me, people of color, people who aren't quite sure what to make of why gender is so damn important to the Constitution, people who are queer and like me always feeling the need to prove the validity of that existence. We all have found a safe space within each other's ideas and nuances, within each other's questions and tears and righteous anger. And we've created a bubble that, though invisible, illuminates us in a place like this. That is why when we see a young black couple in regular clothes laughing to themselves across the street, we share a moment of solidarity, not knowing each other, but knowing the strangeness of being here. And that is why when we laugh and wave, a white woman walks up to us and goes, "You guys are doing such a good job of being calm. You guys are just so quiet." That is why when I have not even opened my mouth, I have not expressed an emotion beyond my body, the white man sitting behind me takes a picture of my hair without knowing my friend is taking a picture of him. All of this while we sit in a room and listen, in a room of whiteness, and listen to people talk about how dear the Constitution is to them, and tokenizes the very important but singular narrative of a brown person, an immigrant who was one of the few lucky enough not to have his existence on this land debated by Republicans and Democrats alike. I make a promise to myself in the midst of this to take my power back from the white man who has decided to cage it in the confines of his phone, where maybe he'll send the picture to his wife and kids like I'm an unusual exhibit in the zoo. Maybe he will send it to his colleagues back home, a seething text about how much space my hair takes up, angry that he could not see the speakers on stage. Or maybe, once the session is over, he will tap me on my shoulder and express how much he's enjoyed my hairstyle throughout the length of the session. I respond, "Oh yes, I see you took a picture." He will laugh and ask me where I'm from. I'll say Chicago, and as a means to cut off the uncomfortable encounter, wish him enjoyment of this souvenir he's acquired. But he is not done. He will make it perfectly clear his end goal when he asks me how often I wash it and if I can really get to the root. I feel myself get smaller and smaller as I say, as often as anyone washes their hair. He'll reach out his hand and offer his name, Scott. And I shake it, feeling the transference of power cause an ugly turbulence to churn in the gut of my existence. Ursula K. Le Guin says, "They all know it is there, the people of the Omalas. Some of them have come to see it. Others are content merely to know it is there. They all know it has to be there. Some of them understand why and some do not, but they all understand that their happiness, the beauty of this city, the tenderness of their friendships, the health of their children, the wisdom of their scholars, the skill of their makers, even the abundance of their harvest and kindly weathers of their skies depend on this child's misery. And I think about our place here and the places we will exist afterwards. I cannot speak to the travelers who have come with me, but I do know that I will go back to a house where the power is out until next week. I will go unsure of where I will live in the upcoming school year. I will go back to a system, an education system where art is constantly being attacked and kids are forced out of their school because other kids have moved into their neighborhoods and stacked a new private school in place of a public school. This is called the Aspen Ideas Festival. I've been here twice and have heard little to do with the places we'll go back to. I feel most black when thrown against a sharp white space. How could Zora have known? Why didn't Baldwin tell us that we are a stranger in every village assumed to be white space? The worst part is, the ones who walk away from Aspen are people who go off to create other places like Aspen. Places that we should feel lucky to participate in, and in return, there can be no guilt, because this is a charity. Something to remember about charity, though, it works from top to bottom. It only gives as a means of protecting supremacy. It is not as a means of understanding, not a means of mutual cultural collaboration and progress. How do we get there? For those of you who truly understand and want to unlearn your power and privilege, and how a place like this, where there are very few people of diverse ethnic and queer background, fosters that power, here's a big idea. Invite us to the conversation in the first place without the censorship of money, without stages moderated by white men, and without the confines of elitist culture. But further than that, I list all of you to think about your role in the festival. Have you done anything to make someone feel that they do not belong? Have you witnessed anything that you have not spoken out about? Think about the panels you've seen. How many of them consider the complexity of technological process and how it could lead to the disenfranchisement and exploitation of others? Lastly, I encourage you to listen to ideas not initially seeking conversion, but just the understanding of someone else's humanity. And I think that is the best way to pave the road to an honest, equitable, and good society.
Trisha.